Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Was Demigod with a Quirk? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku, sweetie, do you have money for your trip? My mother's concerned tone cut through the morning rush. Yes, Mom, I've got plenty. Plus, my teacher mentioned that most of the expenses were already taken care of. I reassured her while grabbing a slice of toast she had prepared. The routine of breakfast was disrupted when I reached for the jelly in the fridge and a sudden unease gripped me. It wasn't the usual distraction of my ADHD or the familiar struggle of dyslexia. This sensation was different, unsettling, like an invisible weight bearing down on me. It felt as though someone unseen was observing, watching every move I made. Just as abruptly as the feeling arrived, it dissipated, leaving an ominous premonition hanging in the air. Today's going to be a bad day, a sense of foreboding settling in. Unfortunately, my intuition proved true. The day unraveled into a series of unexpected events, each more troubling than the last. Arriving at school, I clung to the hope that this overseas trip to America would serve as a welcome distraction for Bakugo and his band of lackeys. A week and a half seemed an eternity ahead, an escape to another world, but in my mind, it felt like it could stretch to a full 2 years. I hoped it would be enough time for them to forget about me, yet as they began closing the distance between us, I knew my wish remained unanswered. Hey, Deku, we heard you're tagging along on this overseas trip. Do you honestly think a quirkless nobody like you can handle being overseas? Bakugo's words cut through the air, each syllable dripping with disdain. And then, as if to punctuate his insult, one of his cohorts deliberately spilled water on me. Kakin, I get it, I'm quirkless, but that's got nothing to do with this trip, I retorted, shaking off the water. Surprisingly, even to me, a surge of defiance propelled my words. But any fleeting sense of confidence evaporated when Bakugo landed a clean right hook on my jaw. The explosive force of the blow sent me reeling to the ground, where he and his minions took the opportunity to further damage by kicking me on the ground. Eventually the group left me lying on the ground covered in bruises and small cuts. I grimaced through the pain in my ribs, eventually managing to rise to my feet. Stifling the pain, I made my way to the bathroom, intent on cleaning up the mess they'd left behind. As I gingerly wiped away the dirt and straightened my uniform, a peculiar sensation seized me when my hands touched the water. It felt different, almost as if it held a healing touch. Astonishment washed over me as I witnessed the scratches fading and my energy returning. Mutter. Did my quirk just unlock? Muttered at a healing quirk. Mutter. Only later I could only wish it was just as simple as a normal healing quirk. Upon settling into my desk, I noticed piercing glares directed my way, though I chalked it up to the typical disdain I often received. The atmosphere shifted as our homeroom teacher made an unexpected announcement. Class, something has arisen, and I won't be able to join you on the trip. However, the excursion will proceed with a different teacher. The room buzzed with curiosity as the new history teacher stepped in, a young blonde woman, perhaps no older than 25, with striking gray eyes. Hi, I'm your history teacher. As you can probably tell, I'm American, and that's why I was asked to go in place of your homeroom teacher. She spoke in Japanese, not to mention she was really fluent with it. With time ticking down to our departure, she swiftly urged us to prepare for the impending flight, excusing herself to confer with our absent homeroom teacher. The moment she left, Bakugo, ever the instigator, stormed towards me, likely testing the waters to see if this newcomer would tolerate his antics. Unperturbed, the teacher caught sight of his approach just as she exited the door. His attempts to intimidate her with explosions failed miserably. Listen, kid. My husband's got abilities far more frightening than your little fireworks. Sit down before I escort you to the principal's office, she asserted firmly, leaving a gleam of admiration in my eyes for her quick retort. I wonder why she didn't say Quirk though. Summoned to the hallway by her, I found her scanning me with a curious intensity, almost as if she was searching for something specific. Not very athletic and you're bullied, she observed, cutting straight to the point. Any special abilities? I'm quirkless, I stammered, averting my gaze to the floor. I didn't ask about your quirk, she sighed, frustration evident. Have you experienced anything out of the ordinary lately? A memory surfaced of this morning, the inexplicable healing effect of water on my injuries. This morning when I washed my face, my bruises and scratches. They healed. A contemplative silence hung between us until she murmured to herself, she was right. I wonder how the others will react. Wait, I began, interrupted by her swift return to the classroom. My bewildered expression likely just seemed like anticipation for yet another teacher's disciplinary action toward Bakugo. At the airport, amidst the bustle and chatter, the teacher steered me aside once more, sensing my nervousness. I'm guessing you've never flown before? She ventured, a hint of concern in her tone. I nodded, my apprehension palpable. Well, let's hope he won't strike us down then, she murmured, her words carrying an unspoken plea to some unknown entity. Her praying puzzled me. What do you mean by him? Like a god of the sky? The only god I know capable of that is in Greek or Roman mythology, but that's not real, I ventured, attempting to make sense of her enigmatic comment. I'm not going to explain it here. It can wait until we get to camp, she deflected, her evasiveness only deepening my confusion. Reluctantly, I dropped the subject and made my way to board the plane, a sense of unease lingering. As we taxied and prepared for takeoff, I silently wished I had prayed to this mysterious deity she hinted at. The flight proved to be a harrowing experience, fraught with almost 8 near misses and turbulent stretches that felt endless. Each jostle and bump felt like a potential brush with disaster. Yet, against the odds, we landed in New York, slightly rattled but intact. Arriving in New York, the teacher organized multiple vans to transport us to the camp, a plan that puzzled some of the students. She assured us, mentioning a favor from a friend of her husband's to facilitate the arrangements. Will we meet your husband? One student queried, curiosity evident. Yes, we will, though he might be occupied. You see, he trains students to assess their abilities alongside various combat styles. I used to do the same, but I chose to become a history teacher, she explained, the revelation shedding light on her confidence and poise, indicating her background in combat training. The revelation left the class nodding in understanding, recognizing where her self-assured demeanor stemmed from. She knew how to fight. Upon arrival at the camp, confusion loomed over the class regarding the cabin arrangements, each one dedicated to a different Greek god. Some cabins were vast and imposing, while others stood empty, likely devoted to lesser-known gods. I tried to recall my limited knowledge of Greek mythology, understanding that the larger cabins belonged to the major gods, while minor gods had smaller cabins. What cabins will we be in? Someone inquired, seeking clarity amid the enigmatic system. We'll place you in cabins with others who share similar abilities. If none fit, you'll stay with Rachel. Her abilities are special, the teacher explained cryptically. Bakugo, seizing the opportunity, retorted arrogantly, her quirk can't be any better than mine. You're in for a surprise. Rachel possesses the power to foresee the future, but she can only express it through a poem prophecies that will always come true, the teacher elaborated, trying to quell Bakugo's dismissive attitude. So what that means she can't even fight? Bakugo started to cackle. You think that till you get hit in the head with a hairbrush. She laughed at her own comment like it was the funniest joke she ever heard. Don't underestimate her. She once hit someone more powerful than you can imagine with a hairbrush. She shared the reason for her comment. It only got a snarl out of the blonde. As everyone was sorted into their cabins based on their quirks, I found myself the only one left. Why wasn't I sent with Rachel? After all, I'm quirkless, I questioned. Midoriya, follow me and listen, she instructed firmly, already walking away before I could protest. As she led me on, she disclosed, everyone here, besides your class, is quirkless. Most have mild powers, some weaker, others stronger, few even mightier than most quirks. But you're different. We received a prophecy. Another land unknown. How far will he go, son of the sea, sail into danger, for a smile will be number one. The prophecy rang in my ears, the words tinged with mystery and an inexplicable urgency. Conviction about my divine lineage as the son of Poseidon, the god of seas and earthquakes. At first we didn't quite understand, but we knew we had to find you if it meant what we thought. You're the son of Poseidon, the god of the seas and earthquakes. I was quick to respond, but my dad has a fire-breathing quirk and he's working in Atlanta. How can you be so sure it's me? I countered, grappling with disbelief. Midoriya, was there a kid in your class who resembled a goat and then suddenly left or switched schools? She probed, seeking validation. My nod confirmed it. That was a satyr. They have the ability to discern if someone is a half-blood, clarified, unraveling the concept of demigods, half-mortal, half-god. Wait, a half-blood? I was even more confused. Yes, half-mortal, half-god. We're almost there. It's time you meet my husband Percy. As we neared a lake, anticipation surged within me, wondering about Percy and the significance of our meeting. Percy emerged, a tall man with a robust yet agile build, sea-green eyes mirroring mine, a tattoo of a trident with a mark below it, clad in cargo shorts and an orange t-shirt imprinted with the words, Half-Blood. The introductions ensued. It's nice to meet you. My name's Percy. What's yours? Percy extended a friendly hand. Izuku Midoriya. Can I ask why we had to meet? I inquired, searching for clarity amid the whirlwind of revelations. We're half-brothers. He spoke, taking a small gap to let his words sink in, and sink in they did. Our dad, Poseidon, recently informed me about your existence, but he couldn't disclose anything more. Follow me, Percy directed, leading us to the water's edge. When you touch the water, do you feel energized and relaxed? He questioned, running his hand through the water. Following suit, I felt a familiar sensation, resembling the comfort and revitalization I experienced earlier. There you go. Claim him already, father. Percy shouted into the sky, a fervent plea for divine acknowledgement. Percy yelling into the sky made my head feel like it was planning on exploding because of the amount of information I was taking in. No response. Looks like he's either occupied or wants you to prove yourself. I know. Annabeth, you mentioned he was bullied, right? What if he defeats his bully in battle? Percy suggested, eager for a resolution. Annabeth vetoed the idea, understanding the vast difference in strength between me and my tormentor. Instead, she proposed a more feasible challenge, slaying a loose bat in the forest. With determined agreement, Percy swiftly arranged for armor and a weapon, gearing me up for the impending task ahead. And that's how I ended up being chased by a giant bat. Venturing into the forest with minimal armor and a sword felt futile. I searched for the river Annabeth had mentioned, hoping to take a drink before facing what might be my last moments. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air, jolting me into action. In the clearing, I spotted a striking girl, her dark hair contrasting against her light leather armor and blue jeans, a giant bat bearing down on her. The foe found the bat. It's huge. I called out, my heart racing at the sight of the monstrous creature. A strange sensation pulsed in my gut, an inexplicable instinct taking hold. Discarding the sword, my feet moved involuntarily, propelling me toward the imminent danger. A surge of overwhelming determination overcame me, my voice roaring into the forest. Your fights with me now, BC. The bat redirected its charge towards me, surprising both me and the girl. She attempted to interject, but before she could finish, a massive wave surged from behind me. As the water touched my feet, an unfamiliar yet empowering sensation coursed through me. I instinctively connected with the water around me, testing my newfound abilities. With a force of will, I conjured water tridents, shaping the liquid into lethal projectiles that flew towards the bat's wings. The impact sent the creature plummeting from the treetops. Unrelenting, I crafted water chains, entwining the bat and dragging it toward the colossal tidal wave. Exhausting every ounce of energy and water I could muster, I unleashed a final, devastating assault that pulverized the creature into dust. As the water settled, the girl emerged from her shock, her gaze locking onto me with newfound recognition. You're a son of Poseidon. The words hung in the air, confirming the divine heritage I'd vehemently denied. The rush of the battle, the power coursing through me, and the validation of my lineage left me in awe of what I had just achieved. I found myself utterly drained from the intense control over the water. Collapsing would have been inevitable had it not been for the girl who I saved. She swiftly caught me as I staggered. "You're an idiot for doing that. Clearly, you don't know the consequences of wielding your godly parents' power," she chided, shaking her head. "I'm Izuku Midoriya. Not idiot," I quipped weakly through my exhaustion. "Estelle Blowface. My friends call me Este," she introduced herself. "Why did you come into the forest?" "You're clearly new to Camp Half-Blood," she inquired, her concern palpable. Percy and wanted me to defeat that bat. I didn't think I could until I saw you cornered, and then my body just moved on its own," I explained, gradually catching my breath. "Of course my stupid brother did that, but I'm surprised Sis did too," Estelle remarked, sounding somewhat disappointed. "How about you help me go wait, you're Percy's sister?" I yelled in surprise. "Yeah, how is that so shocking?" "Well, he's just kind of intimidating while you seem more approachable, not to mention you're better looking." I trailed off, realizing I'd spoken my thoughts aloud. "Not that I started to explain, but Estelle's embarrassed reaction halted me. "Let's go find my useless brother." "Can you walk on your own?" she asked briskly. I nodded. "Good, let's go, Emerald Eyes." Idiot." She took the lead, setting off. Estelle moved much faster than I did, leaving the forest long before I did due to my low stamina. When I finally emerged, she had already located Percy. "Ow, Estelle, you know you shouldn't go around punching people for no reason," Percy grumbled, showing signs of discomfort. "You deserved it. You led an amateur into the forest to slay something that multiple cabins had failed to kill. He could have died." Estelle scolded him fiercely. "Well, you're both alive, and now Izuku knows how it feels to control the tides," Percy retorted defensively. "You were watching." She sounded sad. "Nope, I could feel the water go under his control." He spoke as if his response would calm her down. It didn't do much. "Ugh. Never mind that, he actually seems to have better control over water than you. He made tridents and chains with his water, something you've never done," Estelle remarked proudly. "Estelle, sons of Poseidon don't have the power to create multiple weapons out of water," Percy stated with a perplexed expression. "She's not lying. I created multiple tridents and chains," I confirmed, joining their conversation. "Izuku, you said you were quirkless, right? Because it sounds like you're the first half-blood to have a quirk," joined in. Her comment had Estelle stunned. Estelle seemingly shocked. "But that's impossible, right? Mom's quirk didn't pass to you." "My dad's quirk combined with Mom's created mine," she added, puzzled. I picked up on the mention of quirks. "What's your quirk, Este?" "I never say whatever. My quirk allows me to make elemental weapons, but I'm most efficient with wind and water," she divulged. I went into a muttering fit after Estelle explaining her quirk. "Izuku? Izuku?" Percy said, trying to get my attention. "Sorry, what?" I got distracted because of Este's amazing quirk. Estelle got a little red again. "If you have a quirk, it seems to work seamlessly with our dad's abilities," Percy noted. "If you want to be a hero in Japan, Estelle will teach you hand-to-hand combat, and I'll teach you how to use your powers in a fight. But there's one issue." Percy trailed off, hesitating. "You'll have to finish middle school here. In America. Estelle's dad, my stepdad, works at a middle school, and I can get you in, but then you'll have to live at camp." Percy finished, presenting an unexpected proposition. "Can I have a little time to think things over and to call my mom?" I requested, bewildered by the sudden turn of events. "Of course," Percy replied, giving me the space I needed. "Mom. Who is my dad, really?" I asked on the phone. "Mom, why didn't you tell me? What if I could have acted like I had an advanced version of water manipulation?" I yelled, upset at finding out my mother had lied to me for all these years. "Mom, they're offering to train me. But that means I'll be here for the rest of middle school. I'll come home a few months before the entrance exam for UA. I want to do it even if you say no," I said in anger. I had a surge of confidence after fighting that giant bat. "They'll call you every few days, love you, Mom." Then I hung up. The first day of training was simply hell. Percy teaching me how to use my powers and a sword while his sister teaches me how to fight hand to hand. I thought that was brutal enough, but then I also had to explain to everyone I wasn't going back to Japan, and Bakugo didn't take it well. Let's just say Annabeth went into town the next day to buy me a new shirt. After they left and I got enrolled into Estei's school, doesn't help Annabeth was teaching me about the gods and different monsters after school and training. Everything in my new life was very exhausting. In just a few months I was finally able to come to a standstill in hand-to-hand combat against one of the Ares kids. A draw isn't the best, but it was an improvement, Estei said as she tossed me a water, which I promptly poured on myself. Yeah, but I just feel like there's no way I'll be able to win against anyone here. Even though I'm a child of the big three, I'm nowhere near Percy's level, I said sadly. Midoriya, you can't worry about that. According to my brother, you're nearly as strong as he was, not to mention you have more control over your power thanks to your mysterious quirk. Estei replied back. I don't know. I'm going to head into town to grab some new clothes. My favorite outfit was destroyed during the capture the flag last week. Wanna come? I asked. Estei shook her head. I have plans to go to the movies with my friends at school tonight, and I have to finish up things here before heading to town. I just nodded. Well, enjoy your movie then. I was a little disappointed and was hoping we could hang out since no one in school wants to befriend the new Japanese transfer student. My only friends are Estei, Percy, and Annabeth. What do you mean? You're coming, aren't you? Estei interrupted my thoughts. What do you mean? I don't remember being invited. I responded, scratching my head. What do you mean? I asked you the other day before training and you said sure. Estei said with her face in the palm of her hand. Wait, you mean that was an invitation? It seemed more like, if you show up I'll make you regret it later, type of thing? What made you think that? Maybe you putting me in an arm lock saying, we're going to the movies with my friends in a few days. My response was me coughing sure after tapping out. I rebutted. Is that what happened? I don't remember, and it doesn't matter. I'll go with you to get clothes, but bring a bag so you can change and not look like an idiot in front of my friends, she said, walking away. All I could think of in that moment was how wild she could be, probably because of Annabeth and Percy. Do they not teach you a sense of style in Japan? You'd look much better in these, she said, throwing a pair of blue jeans and a black hoodie that had ocean waves going around the waist and blue stripes down the arms. This looks cool and all, but my allowance isn't enough to be able to afford both these and the movie. That's fine, I'll pay for these and you pay for the snacks at the movies. No, I couldn't ask that of you. I'll just dash, she cut me off. That wasn't a question, that was me telling you what is happening, she said, taking the clothes to the cashier. What movie are we going to go see anyway, and with who? The movie's called The Hero Who Falls and we're watching it with two of my friends and their boyfriend dash. She stopped mid-sentence and faked a cough. No, wait, you were totally going to say them and their beau dash? I was cut off by a hand covering my mouth. You say another word and I'll create a sword from wind and shove it up your dash, Estelle was saying before I removed her hand from my mouth. Not another word, got it? I quickly said before she could act on that threat. God, that movie, yes, but it felt good getting out of camp for a few hours, I said, walking with my hands behind my head. Although it was a weird first date, huh? I said teasingly. I told them you weren't thug. Estelle, while upset, still went bright red from that comment. Estelle, I was wondering something, but you have to promise to give me a serious answer. Yeah, whatever, get on with it, she said, still upset from the teasing. Promise me. Fine, I promise to give you a serious answer, she finally said after a few seconds. Looking into her eyes, I said, I want you to go to Japan with me when I go back, and I know dash. Before I could finish my sentence, she responded. Yes. That it's a tug? Wait, did you say yes? But you didn't even have time to think it over? I stopped, walking, shocked. Well, someone has to go with you and make sure you don't F up and anger a god. Besides, she stopped talking and walked up to me and kissed my cheek, and I just froze. We leave in 2 weeks, so we will have 10 months to train in Japan. It's going to be a 2-month cruise, so you're going to be stuck with me. I'll see you then, bye. Then she ran off before I could say anything. If only things could stay this good. Unfortunately, with my luck, that's not how things often went. Normally heading back to camp from town is no longer than an hour or so drive. But the camp van broke down, and as the driver and I made our way back, we got attacked 5 times by monsters. I guess they knew I was leaving shortly. All of that made a 1-hour trip into 9 hours. Once I got back to camp, I made my daily phone call. Hey Mom. Yeah, I'm safe, well as safe as I can be. I actually have some good news. I'm leaving to come home in 2 weeks. I know that's a lot earlier than planned, but according to Percy, I've learned faster than expected. They also figured it would be best for me to be able to rest at home after being away for so long. No, we're not doing a plane again. Zeus was mad enough the first time. Oh yeah, Percy's younger sister Estelle will be joining me. I kinda asked her too, but based on how fast she gave an answer, she already was planning on it. Looks like my phone time's up, Mom. I'll be home in a little over 2 months by ship. Love you, bye. After I hung up the phone, Rachel came up to me. Midoriya, I know you don't leave for 2 weeks, but I must remind you of the prophecy that involves you. I know, but honestly that just seems to be about locating me in my opinion. Another land unknown. How far will he go, son of the sea, sail into danger, for a smile will be number 1. Those last 2 parts have nothing to do with locating you, and seeing how you're about to go on a cruise, I thought it important to remind you of the last 2. Rachel added, I get it, I'll be careful. Besides, I'm a son. If Poseidon, god of the sea, wouldn't I be at my strongest on the ocean? Not necessarily. There's some places even Poseidon can't even go. Anyway, hurry to sword practice before Percy shish kebabs you into next Monday. Rachel said while hitting him on the head with the almighty hairbrush used on Kronos himself. See, can't you go easy on me today? It's my last day here. I said, panting. Even more the reason to work you so hard. You think monsters are going to let you off so easy? Percy retorted while tossing a water bottle to me, and I promptly poured the whole thing on my head. Also, don't think for a moment I didn't notice your little crush on my kid sister. Take this as a warning that I could beat your lit dash. Percy was cut off. That's enough, hun, I think the kid gets it. Annabeth came to my rescue as usual. Come on, you got to let me scare the guy a little, Percy said while making a hand gesture as if he was pinching salt. Go take a shower and change. Once you're done, pack your bag. We leave first thing in the morning. Are you coming to Percy? Or is having to sons of a sea god at sea a bad idea? I asked, hoping to not sound needy. Unfortunately, I cannot join you guys. My job of training people at this camp is basically a full-time commitment. If I vanish for a few months, who knows what kind of problems could arise. Speaking of problems, here comes Leo, the walking talking fire creating problem. Hey Percy, Annabeth, and Midoriya, right? Anyway, I was looking for you, Percy, because I just made a new sword I wanted you to test out. Leo said after greeting the 3 of them. How about Midoriya tries it? He still needs a proper weapon for monsters after all. Percy suggested. Besides, I have Riptide. Leo nodded and motioned me to follow him. Look, this new sword is unique, so unique I feel that only the first person who wields it can use it effectively. I call her Vortex, the Sea's Wraith, or Vortex for short. Leo explained to me as he pulled out a simple-looking glove. Once you put the glove on, it should then take a form suited for you. It can also change forms in battle. Another bonus is it kinda has access to change the blade's metal, so if in the wrong hands it can be used to kill mortals, but on the other hand can be used to subdue them too. Leo added before tossing the surprising light glove at me. Vortex, you say? Well, Vortex, looks like we're going to be partners, I say as I put on the glove. So, how do I make it transform into a blade? No clue. Leo responded with a confident smile. I'm sure once you get used to her she'll become weapons no problem. Till then she's just a glove. I could only think, of course the smartest mechanic in the camp can't even get his weapons to work. Once we made it to the ship, it finally hit me that I was going home. I can't believe it's already time to leave. Once we were shown our rooms, I looked at myself in the mirror. I no longer looked like the weak, quirkless kid from before. Now I look like a confident, muscular demigod capable of protecting those around him. I decided to explore the ship some, so I went to Este's room to ask her if she wanted to join me. Este, you in there? Yeah, just give me a sec, she responded with what sounded like a big thump and rummaging before the door opened. She was wearing a tank top and jean shorts. Everything okay in there? Yeah, just not used to so much space. I was kinda enjoying the big bed, if that makes sense. That's something that doesn't make much sense to me, but that could be just because I'm used to small beds because of Japan. All that space just makes the bed feel so empty to me. Anyway, I was wondering if you would like to join me in exploring the ship and see some of the activities we get to take part in. Sure, why not? Let me put on my shoes real quick and we can go. As she goes to grab her shoes, I notice how her bed looks a mess, like she was possibly jumping on it. I guess she's not used to such luxuries. She comes back not long after. Ready? Always. Now, the first 3 weeks of the cruise was perfect, but then just like everything, it was ruined. Here I thought we could enjoy a nice simple cruise, not get stuck inside a hurricane. I yelled annoyingly, I know, Midoriya, but you have to focus and make sure we don't sink. You got this. Estelle tried to give me words of encouragement. Kinda hard to keep such a big ship from sinking in such harsh conditions. I retorted, tell you what, if you can get us out of this hurricane in one piece, I'll give you a kiss, a real, proper kiss. Estelle replied, and within that same moment the ocean seemed to calm down some, the hurricane even eased up some. Is now really the time to tease me? I'm dead serious. I'll give you a kiss if you keep us from sinking. Okay, but you have to wait to kiss me till I wake up, you got it? Before she could respond, I tugged hard on that feeling in my gut, and I forced the storm to dissipate and the waves to calm down. To any mortal it would seem a miracle we didn't sink and die. After using so much energy I passed out. I woke up in a sweat thinking about the storm. Apparently I was asleep for 2 days. Estelle was mad at me for doing something so risky, then told me the deal was off since I scared her like that. That's not fair, you can't go back on your word. I yell in a rebuttal. Why should I kiss such an idiot anyway? It could spread to me. Estelle, who had better grades and test scores between us? So? I had to fight my instincts just to read the whole time while you didn't, so who's the idiot out of us two? I retorted back. Could you two just shut up and date already, geez? Now I know how everyone felt when they seen me and Percy argue. Annabeth joined in the conversation after sneaking her way into the room. Her comment made both of us turn bright red. Not funny, Annabeth, we had a deal and now she's backed out. Last time I'll stop a hurricane for you. I said, folding my arms. Next time promise on the river Styx, then she couldn't back out, idiot. Annabeth responded with hitting me on the back of the head. Anyways, back to things that actually matter. We're halfway to Japan. You guys have your papers? Annabeth switched topics as if my feelings didn't matter. Yes. We said in unison. Now that I'm thinking about it, why did you join us, Annabeth? In case you ignored the prophecy, I think we managed over the second to last part. So I came along to make sure that you kids didn't die from it. What do you think the last part could mean, though? Annabeth asked us. If it's anything like I can assume, I might have a run-in with the number 1 hero, All Might, but since it ends there, meeting him should finish off the prophecy, no? I asked in return. Hopefully, I can't say for sure that's it though, but I'll only be here a short while before leaving back to the States. Sorry I won't be there for the entrance exams. Annabeth apologized for dumb things from time to time, this being another time. Sis, you don't have to apologize for missing something you know we'll dominate at. Besides, if this idiot screwed up when he's been training for this past year, I'll kill him myself. Estelle added to the conversation. Wow, I don't think you'd have to go that far, Estelle. What happened to, you can do it, I know you can, or literally any other words of encouragement. I responded while acting as if I've been stabbed. Drama queen. Estelle added before leaving the room with Annabeth following shortly. It's been 2 months basically and I still haven't made Vortex transform into a weapon. I tried hand signs, movements, voice commands, nothing worked. In anger I went to punch the pillow on my bed, then it turned into a giant gauntlet built to do some serious damage from a punch. It worked, a little heavy, but it worked. I screamed in excitement. Wait, how do you turn back to normal? I just tried opening my hand out of a fist and it went back to being a glove. I wonder. I imagined a sword in front of me, then with the hand I wore Vortex I reached for this imaginary sword, and then Vortex became that sword. I think I understand you a little better, Vortex. I swear Vortex seemed to hum in response to what I said, almost as if it was alive. Vortex, can you understand me? Then the same thing happened. I let go of the sword and it returned to being a glove on my hand. What else can you turn into? I know if you're sentient, pick a weapon and surprise me. I probably look crazy talking to a glove on my hand, then again that same glove hummed back as if it acknowledged my request. I then did a grabbing motion and the glove turned into a full-size trident. I could get used to this, I should go catch up with the others. But first Vortex, if ever in battle, if you think I should use a different weapon, one that's more suited, turn into that instead. I know you're my weapon, but I'd much rather see you as a partner and not just a weapon. You won't believe it, I figured out how to use Vortex. It's even sentient. I say, puffing out my chest. A sentient sword? Yes and no. It can transform into any weapon from what I tested. Not guns or bows though, so I guess no range weapons. That sounds like a better version of my Uncle Magnus' sword. Funny story, his sword is in love with Percy's. Apparently Riptide is a girl, she said in the laugh I couldn't get enough of. By the way, I'm sorry for making you worry, it's just I thought if I didn't do what I did everyone would have died and I didn't want to lose any of you guys. I didn't have many people who believed in me and the thought of losing that and your promise that made me overdo it. I apologized. Instead of her responding, she went up to me and kissed me, a real, genuine kiss. Before I could respond, she ran off to her room, leaving me there stunned. The rest of the cruise was pretty uneventful besides how Estelle avoided me like the plague whenever I tired to bring up our kiss, so I stopped bringing it up so we could enjoy the rest of the cruise together. I really enjoyed the relaxing feeling I got from the hot tubs and the fun of going down the water slides. On the last night before making it to Japan, they even did an amazing fireworks show. Estelle even leaned on my shoulder for most of it, which only made it that much better. Once we reached the pier, I realized I didn't know where Estelle and Annabeth were going to stay. Hey Estelle and Annabeth, where will you guys be staying? I know you're only staying for a few days, Annabeth, since you're taking the ship back to America, but I just realized I had no clue where you guys will be. Annabeth responded first. I'll be staying in my room on the ship at night, but I'll be out and about in Japan during the day. And I thought it would have been obvious I'd be staying at your place since my family can't afford to pay for an apartment for me out here. Estelle added. I stopped and stood there for a moment taking in what she said. You're staying at my place. I think you broke him, Estelle, Annabeth joked. Is there a problem with me staying with you? Estelle asked. No, it's just. My mom's apartment only has 2 rooms. It just took me a second to accept that I'll be living on the couch for the foreseeable future. You two could always share, Annabeth joked while elbowing my ribs. 1 ow, 2 my mom would have a heart attack, come back to life, murder us, then have another heart attack. I said in response to the joke before looking over to the bright red Estelle and going red myself. We reached the apartment not too long after grabbing our luggage and leaving the pier. The steps leading up to the place I haven't seen in over a year made emotions surface and I could feel the tears go down my face. I wipe away my tears and make my way up the stairs carrying both Estelle's and mine. Remind me why you're making me carry everything? Because you're stronger than me and my bag's heavy. I don't think you needed to pack your armor though, we could have had Hermes send it over, couldn't we? If you want to pay for overseas shipping where it makes the DLVY 5x more expensive, sure, but we didn't, so man up and get back to it. You can be so mean, Estelle, I say while making a pouty face. You know faces don't affect me. I shrugged my shoulders before finally reaching my floor. I walk up to the door, my hand shaking. Estelle grabbed my hand and whispered, "It'll be okay." I just nodded and opened the door. "I'm home, Mom." We heard a loud crash of pots and pans and the rushing of footsteps. That's when my mother came from around the corner and proceeded to tackle me and started crying. So much for my new shirt staying clean, I say jokingly, and I slide my mom's head trying to get her to compose herself. Mom, we have a guest, you can cry all you want after dinner. And that was enough to get my mom to gather herself. So this must be your girlfriend then. Thank you for taking care of my baby. I know he probably wasn't the easiest to deal with. Estelle became bright red and couldn't speak. Mom, me and Estelle aren't dating, we're friends, that's all. Friends don't kiss Izuku, but if you guys aren't dating yet, you better do something about that quick before someone steals her heart. That's when both Estelle's face and mine became the brightest red ever. Estelle, you didn't tell Annabeth about that, did you? I didn't have anyone else to talk to about it. Dead. It took a few weeks to get used to living back at home. I just wish I was able to take down all the All Might posters in my room before Estelle seen them. Fortunately for me, my mom had gotten promoted in her job twice since I was in New York, allowing for us to find an apartment that has 3 rooms. Once we moved in, I noticed we weren't that far from Tacoba Municipal Beach, but when Estelle and I went to go check it out, we could only see garbage. If my dad seen this, Japan would definitely get hit by an extra strong tsunami. Someone should really clean this up. Think we could possibly clean it? Estelle said, suggesting it as a form of training. You're going to make me move all the heavy things, aren't you? Maybe, she teased me. Just as we began to descend down the stairs to look around and see what needed to be cleaned, first we hear a truck pulling up behind us with a blonde man who looked very thin and sick. Are you kids planning to clean that mess up alone? The strange man asked. Well, I just moved back from America and my friend joined me since we're both going to apply to UA, and we wanted to check out the closest beach just to see this, so we figured it would be a good way to train while cleaning it. I responded, sharing more information than probably needed. The man in the truck looked like he was thinking, tell you what, you kids clearly don't have a way to transport the garbage to the dump and probably don't have a permit to use your quirks on the beach to be able to train. I have friends in the police who can get you the permit, and I can show up at the end of every week to bring the trash to the dump. I look at Estelle and whisper, this guy is weird. Think we can trust him? If he's telling the truth, then it would make life way easier, but I don't think he is lying, she whispered back. Okay, but you never introduced yourself. I'm Izuka Midoriya and my friend is Estelle Blofeld. What's yours? Tashinori Yagi is the name. Here, let me give you my contact information because I have to run, but do let me know when you kids want to begin so I can get you the permit. He gave me a slip of paper with his number and email on it, and just like that he was gone. What a weird guy. Anyway, do you want to see my old middle school? If it's anything like you said, then I might just break all the windows at the same time with my quirk. Sometimes I forget how violent Estelle can be. I already planned on flooding all their toilets, but we probably should do either. I responded, hoping to talk her down from acting on that threat. Fine, I'll behave, but only if you buy me lunch. A lunch date then? I say teasingly, and as I was laughing she punched me in my ribs. I look at her as I'm bending down in pain and her face is bright red. Worth it, I mutter before coughing. So this is it, huh? I thought it would be smaller. Estelle commented upon seeing the school. I'm just glad we finished school early in America so we don't have to go here. I actually had this really nice route going home. It took longer, but the view of the ocean was too good to pass up. Want to check it out? I suggested since we had lunch before coming to the school. Sure, Waterboy, let's go look at the thing we were on for 2 months. Trust me, this view is amazing. I grabbed her hand and dragged her behind me, and I was so focused on remembering the turns I didn't realize I never let go of Estelle's hand, but she also didn't seem to let go. Keeping my attention focused on where we were going, we passed underneath a bridge and I almost missed that the manhole cover launched open, and at first nothing happened, and then what looked like green sludge person jumped out of the newly opened manhole. I didn't know he was in town. I need to get out of here. That's when it spotted us. Perfect A bodysuit. Now I'm not picky, but girls are much easier, so don't fight me, girly. That's when it jumped at Estelle. I quickly jumped in front of her and had Vortex turn into a massive shield that easily blocked the sludge's attempt of attacking Estelle. Back off. I don't know who was chasing you, but I'm sure I can hold you till they arrive, so best to surrender. I scream at the sludge person. You think I'll surrender to a brat like you? That's when I decided to go on the offensive and had Vortex turn from its shield form into a bow staff. Are you dumb, kid? Do you really think that stick can stop me? I rush at the sludge, and that's when I heard a loud audible, I am here. It was the #1 hero, All Might. I'd grab a hold of something, kids. I ran back to Estelle and shoved my bow staff into the ground and held her tight. Not a second later did All Might throw a powerful punch that created a strong wind that turned the sludge guy into puddles scattered around. If Estelle didn't make a wind sword to divert the wind around us, we would have also gone flying. Are you kids okay? All Might spoke to me. He actually spoke to me. Izuka, get a hold of yourself, Estelle whispered in my ear, snapping me out of my daze. Yeah, we're okay. Hey, All Might, do you think you have a second to talk? It's important. It always is, and normally I'd listen, but I'm in a rush today, so unfortunately I have to go. Be safe, kids, and remember, I am here. All Might announced before readying himself to jump into the sky, but I grabbed onto him as tight as I could. I will not let my chance go to waste by letting him leave like that. I realized what I did a second too late as my feet left the ground and we flew up into the sky. "Oh, mate," was about all I could manage to say through the wind pushing against my face. "Let go, kid, I told you I didn't have time for your question, I'm sorry. See, can't fly." "Oh right." All Might then landed on a nearby roof to let me down. The second my feet touched the ground I got on my knees and proceeded to hug it. I never realized just how much I liked being on the ground till then. All Might's cough is what brought me back to reality. At first I thought it was one of those attention-grabbing coughs. I was wrong. Is that blood? Did that villain manage to hurt you? Before he could respond, he suddenly turned into a small, sick-looking man, the one from this morning on the beach. Him coughing up more blood brought my attention back to this situation that to me at least felt very awkward. "Look, K-," he tried saying before coughing more blood. "Don't overexert yourself, take a moment to breath." He started to take slow, long breaths and slowly began to stand up. I didn't even realize he was sitting down. You can't tell anyone about this. If the media found out and published articles about my weakened state, crime rates would shoot up exponentially, and that's not good for anybody. I just gave him a blank stare for a few seconds while coming up with a response. "Do you take me for an idiot? If I was a scumbag I might try to blackmail you at least, but I'm not. This accident allows us to talk about what I needed to anyway because we don't know if it's a good or bad thing." Upon that last comment, All Might gave me a questioning glance. "What do you mean by, with? Also, what could be so important you risk your life to grab onto me as I jumped?" Seems like All Might's primary concerns changed from worrying about me finding out his secret to what I was wanting to bring up. It's a bit of a long story, and also requires me telling a massive secret, but I feel like if I don't share it there's a good chance you won't believe or want to believe it. What exactly would I not believe in? Gods. Do you believe in gods? Not the Christian or Jewish kind. I'm talking Greek, Roman, Norse, and Egyptian. I asked with the most serious face I could muster. He needs to know the whole truth, I just know it. Are you trying to tell me gods, like in beings of unimaginable power, exist? 'Cause there's no wadash, I cut him off. They exist and they are very much active in the world. Wouldn't be surprised if some heroes believe they have a quirk, when in reality they're using their godly parents' powers. I take a deep breath to calm myself for the next part. As for me, my mother is a normal mortal. She has a weak telekinesis quirk. My father is a god, however. I pull out my water bottle and control the water to float around me before guiding it to my hand, forming a trident made of water. I am the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea and earthquakes, and being his son I can control tides. Any body of water is under my control if I so wish it. But unlike my half-brother who trained me and every other half-blood, I alone possess a quirk to go along with my godly parents' power. Any other son of Poseidon can control water, some can create hurricanes even, but they cannot control how the water takes shape. I watch All Might's face closely to gauge his reaction. At first a few seconds pass, then a minute, then 5 minutes. Just before it could become 6 his face softens just a little. "Kid, that's a nice story, but that doesn't explain why you grabbed onto me the way you did, so tell me the truth of why you would risk everything to tell me such a thing, and if all you said is true then why do we not run into monsters like in the stories?" Simple really, that's because they're just that, kid, stories made by people who didn't understand how the world works. I give him a silent nod and sit down against the wall and let out a deep sigh. "Look, All Might, I'm not sure how to really prove it to you, but what you need to know is that in Greek mythology there is a spirit that can see the future. That spirit finds a host to share the future in forms of prophecies as poems. We refer to this person as the Oracle, and they told one about me. That's how they found me despite me being here in Japan and them being in America. That prophecy was, another land unknown, how far will he go, son of the sea, sail into danger, for a smile will be number one. We assumed the last part was me meeting you, but usually that means our fates are linked somehow. Kid, what do you expect me to do with that kind of knowledge? I don't have anything to do with gods or anything, so maybe that last part wasn't us meeting. For a smile will be number one. To me it sounds like you'll take first place in something, maybe the UA entrance exam even. I do have to leave now to take this Vil dash. He cut himself off. Everything okay, All Might? I ask while getting up and approaching him because he looked pale and was about to fall over. The villain. The bottles. They must have fallen out of my pockets. That was not good. The way that villain tried to attack Estelle, it's likely that not many heroes could fight him, let alone anyone else. I can't believe that JRK would leave me here all alone like that. I'm going to put him through hell in our next sword training session for that. Estelle said to no one but herself. As she was trying her best to retrace her steps, she could head back to the apartment. She could hear someone yelling about extras. Demand those F extras. Thinking that just because of that one teacher 2 years ago taught them they could beat me in a fight. Estelle then remembered a loud, explosive blonde who was from Midoriya's old school. She peeked around the corner doing her best to not be spotted. She noticed he had 2 other kids with him, his little posse probably. That's when she noticed the bottle on the ground looked just like that of the one All Might used to capture that villain. Looking harder, she realized they were one in the same, and Midoriya grabbing onto him probably caused it to fall. Before she could reveal herself and grab it, the blonde kicked it hard enough for Cap to shoot off, freeing the villain. The sight of a barrage of missed calls and texts from Estelle, coupled with the deafening explosion nearby, triggered an adrenaline surge. Without second thoughts, I sprinted with an intensity that eclipsed any prior dash I'd ever made, leaving All Might, weakened, struggling behind me. Evading civilians in my way felt effortless compared to the volleys of arrows and bombs from Percy's training. I was thinking training back here in Japan could be more normal. I guess I should find a spot in the woods for dodge training though. More explosions filled my ears the closer I got to the source, along with the more people either running away from or running to the explosions. Thinking about it now, that must make being a hero hard with civilians running to check out the danger and not running from it. I glanced over my shoulder to see All Might losing distance from me. His signal to continue spurred me to sprint harder, reaching the final bend. Holy sheet, escaped my lips, freezing me in place. The villain had Bakugo, manipulating him to unleash havoc. Scanning frantically, I spotted Estelle, injured and crouched in pain with a blood-covered arm. The hero's inaction spurred me into action. Backdraft's water provided me with an advantage. Silently, I collected water from Backdraft. I whispered instructions to Vortex. Vortex, I need you to become a gauntlet on my mark. Until then, become a staff. When I finally got enough water to be able to cover myself and Vortex in water, I hurtled over the heroes, locking eyes with the villain. Stealing my resolve, I lunged forward, aiming to exploit the villain's vulnerability. My staff passed through the sludge villain's body, then realization struck me. The eyes, they had to be a possible weakness. The villain whirled, launching Bakugo's explosive fury. Dodging and counterattacking, I struck one of his eyes, eliciting a guttural scream from the villain. The villain turned around, unleashing a few of Bakugo's explosions at me. I dodged by jumping and rolling to the side, and using that moment I spin around and hit one of the villain's eyes, causing him to scream out in pain. Now! Vortex transformed into a gauntlet. Leveraging the remaining water, I freed Bakugo and readied for the next onslaught. Bakugo's silence struck an odd chord. Focused on the villain, I realized the reason. I quickly pulled my focus back onto the villain. When my gaze went back to the villain, I realized why he was silent. All Might was standing there preparing a punch. Thanks for the help, kid. You gave me the will to push past my limits, he whispered just loud enough for only me to hear. Just as my focus left All Might to check on Estelle and Bakugo, more wind blew past me. All Might had jumped away. I refocused on checking on Estelle. Please say that's not your blood covering your arm. And I'm sorry for leaving you back there. But I did learn some pretty valuable information. I say to Estelle while helping her to her feet. Never follow up an apology with a "but," and for what it's worth I accept your awful apology. As for the blood, some is mine, most is his. I tried to use my quirk to help him, but his explosion made his arm graze my wind blade, covering my arm in his blood. She stood there quietly, most definitely blaming herself for failing to save him and instead causing him harm. If she were a hero, she would be heavily judged for the mistake. It's not your fault, you know that, right? You tried to help someone you knew for a fact made you friend go through hell, yet you still tried to help him, and that means a lot more than messing up. Even if no one else can see that I can, I reassure her as I pull her into a hug, and for once I didn't get punched for doing so. The next hour was filled with getting checked for wounds by paramedics, and us both getting ridiculed by Death Arms and Kamui Woods. You kids could have been severely hurt, you got lucky this time, and you boy, do you have a permit for that weapon of yours? Death Arms looked towards me with a stern glare when he brought up Vortex. Of course, let me grab it out of my wallet, I say to him as I pull out my ID and weapon license to hand to him. You seem to have quite the moves, kid. Did you train with a hero? Kamui Woods asked me, and for a few seconds I thought of how to respond. No, my half-brother spent a lot of his life learning to fight, and he trained me the last 2 years in America to help me master my quirk and how to fight with it. Oh. Then quick question, who do you think is stronger, your brother or me? My brother would have you on the ground before you even know what hit you. And he's being generous, Estelle added. If he's that strong, why is he not a hero? Kamui Woods had a good point. Why was Percy not a hero in America? Don't the gods love when their kids do heroic acts? I mean, in the stories their kids were literally called heroes. That's because he'd rather train people into heroes, Estelle said, saving me from the embarrassment from not having an answer. At least he is putting his strength to use then. I'm glad Kamui Woods isn't one of those prideful heroes who are too full of themselves. Heroes like that tend to cause more problems. Your license checks out, just be careful kids and don't do anything stupid like trying to fight a villain, he said that last part while looking directly at me. Before we left I was lucky enough to be able to grab autographs from everyone, but she had left once she realized she wasn't needed. You told him what? You don't you realize most mortals cannot comprehend the world of the gods? Estelle went into a long rant about stuff I had already knew about once we got back to our apartment. Estelle, everything is fine, he didn't really believe me about the god stuff, but he did make a good point about the prophecy, another land unknown, how far will he go, son of the sea, sail into danger, for a smile will be number one, he said the last part could have been me being number one in something like the UA entrance exam maybe? That got Estelle off my back as she headed to her room to think, and to probably call Annabeth. That's also when my mom got home from work. What did you do to make Estelle mad now? My mom asked, being nosy. What makes you think she's mad at me? The text she sent me saying she's mad and to leave her dinner by her bedroom door, and let's be honest sweetie, she only can get that upset if it involves you. I couldn't really fight that logic, especially since it's true. When showing her the way I used to walk home, a villain appeared, but so did All Might. As All Might was about to jump off, I grabbed onto him, leaving her alone. I'll make dinner tonight, you can go get your bath. Before she could respond, I went into the kitchen to start making dinner. I chose to make Estelle's favorite. Holding Estelle's dinner, I hesitate to knock on her door. She hasn't left her room since we got home. When I finally go to knock, she opens the door. I made dinner. She looks at the food in my hands. Thanks, is all she said before grabbing it and going back into her room, closing the door. I knock on her door and get no response. Look, I know I messed up and there's no good excuse for it, and I also know you must be furious about it, but please talk to me, or at least eat at the table. Then her door opened and she pulled me in before throwing me into her chair. But why do all the cute ones have to be idiots? Estelle muttered under her breath, but I heard it, but I stayed quiet. I'm upset about you leaving me on my own. I am more than capable of handling myself, but you're still new to all of this. Going off on your own is dangerous and stupid, so extremely stupid. What if something happened to you? What if you got hurt? Did you even think for a second how that would make your mother feel? How it would make me feel? I could see tears start to form in her eyes. No, I didn't. I've always had a tendency to find trouble and makes those around me worry. I promise next time I'll think before I act so you won't have to worry so much. I am always going to worry because we both know you would risk everything to save someone, to help that person feel important despite them feeling like they're not. At this point I can tell she was about to start crying, so I get up and pull her into a hug. You're talking about yourself, aren't you? I ask her gently while I have her in a hug and I can feel her nod. I decide to hold off on talking till she can speak and has eaten. Once she managed to stop crying on my shoulder, she ate and told me everything. Apparently back in New York her classmates found her weird, and they invited her to a movie and told her to bring her imaginary boyfriend, and that's why she brought me, because she thought if she did then maybe they would stop. When they didn't and then began to make fun of her for dating the Moss Head Kid, I didn't even know of that nickname. Every day she went to school she felt awful, but when we got to meet up and hang out or train she felt more important than those kids ever were. What really sent her over the edge was when I was worried about her and didn't even for a second make fun of her for messing up. She ended up passing out leaning on my shoulder. I gently laid her on her bed and pulled her blanket over her. I had an important call to make. Hey Percy. Yeah, everything is fine here in Japan. We may have finally learned what the last line in the prophecy actually means. But that's not why I'm calling you. Long story short, Estee admitted to me that some of her classmates were bullying her. It affected her confidence so bad that she broke down today after an incident that I'll give you the full details another time. I figured since your stepdad still works there, even has some of the girls in his class even. She didn't share names, but I know them because of one time Estee bringing me with her to an outing to try and stop the bullying. They only got worse after. Don't go flooding the school. Look, I'm said to, but I remember one of the girls had a line up for a nice hero school that even one mark of bullying would get her name removed from the list. I know it's not enough to make up for it. We both know how it feels. We also know we don't like it when someone solves that problem for us. So let's slap their wrist till Estee can cut it off. Thank you. I'll call you later to fill you in on why exactly she broke down. Bye. The next few days we spent in her room, me listening to whatever she needed to say. Thanks Aizu. That helped. New nickname? Definitely better than idiot, I say, chuckling to lighten the mood. I noticed how quiet Estelle got. Still got something on your mind? No, it's nothing. Nothing important anyway. She whispered that last part, but I heard it. Tell me or I'll shave my head. Still trying to keep the mood light but my curiosity not leaving. Mumble. I didn't quite catch that. I like you. You idiot. I was too embarrassed and red to acknowledge the return to the old nickname, but I guess my silence was misread. I guess I said it to late your fay dash. I cut her off by pulling her into a tight hug. Now who's the idiot? It's not like I've been chasing after you the last 2 years. I know you noticed, and I almost gave up until you said you were going to Japan with me. You gave me hope. Rebuilt my confidence from scratch. I'd to die 1,000 times before forgetting your name, let alone how I feel about you. I didn't notice at first, but she was crying into my chest. I never seen her cry, let alone 2 days in a row. After that day we were officially something, even if I'm uncertain on what that is. The next week we had a permit to clean the beach with the help of our quirks, and that's also when I finally got a chance to talk privately with All Might, or rather Toshinori Yagi. We should talk, kid. Privately. Anything you need to say to me, she can hear. I did let him know prior I haven't shared his identity with Estelle, but if she asked I wouldn't lie. I was worried you would say that. Your name is Estelle, right? What I am about to say is confidential, only a very small group of people know this. I am All Might. I received a bad injury in a fight that I managed to hide from the public, but it weakened me and I now have a time limit for hero work. Now for the information even less people know of. The truth of my quirk and what it is. Estelle cut him off. Let's go Izuka, he must be Serdash. Then I cut her off. Show her. She won't believe you otherwise. I locked eyes with All Might when I spoke and he did just that. He inflated, making him look like the All Might she seen the week before, but he didn't hold his form long. Believe me now? He managed to say while coughing up blood that had Estelle silent. Anyway, I wanted to speak to young Midoriya about something important. But judging how close you two are, he probably would tell you anyway. My quirk is called One for All. It's a quirk that's been passed down the generations. It boosts the user's quirk and physical strength, and the quirk only gets stronger every time it gets passed down. I want to offer you my quirk, young man. The way you didn't so much hesitate to jump into action upon noticing the hero's lack of action, you jumping in there risking harm to yourself, gave me the will to push past my limits and jump in the fight. You have the makings for a great hero, and I want to help you reach even higher. I couldn't believe what I just heard. The idea of a quirk that can be passed down was already crazy, but the fact he wants me to inherit something like that overloaded me, and I just stood there frozen. It took Estelle shaking me to knock me out of my daze. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'd love to be able to inherit your quirk, but like I told you, I'm not completely human. Is there someone you trust that knows your secret, that has medical experience in case something bad happens? Before All Might could respond, Estelle grabbed my arm and pulled me so only I could hear her. You just promised me not to do anything rash and stupid. Who knows what could happen if you do this? You're already an enigma as is. I know all of that, but if this makes me stronger, then it's worth it. If his power increases my already existing power, then I should be able to do things no other demigod has. I mean, even with my godly strength, my max is only 300 pounds, which some strength quirks pass with ease. I'm not Percy. I doubt someone like him will appear again for centuries. But if I can get even slightly close to his level of strength, then the world will only be that much safer. Think about it, we haven't seen a single monster here yet. That can only mean one of two things. Either they don't appear here, or they're hiding among the villains of Japan. I just don't like you taking unnecessary risks. But I can't stop you, so if this is happening, we're having a medical expert there. She said that last part directly at All Might. Well, the kid seems to more than healthy enough to take on One for All. I don't quite understand the hesitation, but I am glad the kid is smart enough to be cautious about things like this and not just jumping into it, was Recovery Girl's official medical advice. Well, Este would probably have killed me had I not thought it through first, so All Might. How do we do this? Is it done through dash? He cut me off with his hand while the other pulls a strand of hair out while he is in his big form. Eat this. He gestured with the hair in his hand. You know. Is there any other way? He shrank into his normal small self. This is the most sanitary way, trust me, kid. Just eat it, and in a few hours the quirk should manifest. I sigh and grab the hair from his hand and put it in my mouth, washing it down with a bottle of water. There now, dash. I was cut off by a pain in my stomach. I fell over and it felt as if my mouth dried up, and I tried to say water but nothing came out. Quick, get the kid on the bed. Estelle stopped them before they could touch me. He needs water, water heals him. I'll carry him to the pool. Recovery Girl, please inform Nizu of the situation as you make your way to the pool. He activated his quirk before picking me up and rushing me to the pool, with the occasional scream leaving my mouth. Luckily there was no students in the school to witness my screaming. We're almost there, kid, hold on, was the last thing I heard before blacking out from the pain. I felt as though I was in a dream. I knew I was underwater, but the feeling in my stomach no longer felt like a wild torrent of pain. It was almost like how the sea can change weather in an instant. It wasn't long before I gained enough strength to get out. They had left me in the pool and I sank about halfway and just stayed there. As I got out, I willed the water to let me be dry. The way Recovery Girl looked when she realized she didn't have to bring me a change of clothes was a little funny, but I held back my laughter. So, does someone want to explain what just happened? I know that he shouldn't have had a reaction to the quirk like that unless there was something you didn't share, Tashinori. Recovery Girl scolded him and hit him on the head with her cane. Unfortunately, I cannot share that information with you. Me and Estelle should go for now. I'm feeling fine and it's getting late. I can't have my mom worry. I began to leave, but Recovery Girl refused to let us leave till I had a full checkup. Everything came back fine. I went straight into my room after dinner, unable to meet Estelle's gaze. Promising to be careful and then nearly facing death left me feeling ashamed. I'll just change in the morning, I said quietly to myself. No, you'll take a shower, change, then you can sleep. Estelle's voice made me jump. I'll take one later then. I mumbled into my pillow, the fabric not doing much but muffle my voice, but unable to mask the tension in my tone. No, you won't. You'll take one now or I'll drag you by the ear and have your mother bathe you like a child, because that's how you're acting right now. I hesitated, feeling the weight of her words pressing down on me. Something happened today, we don't know what, but it clearly put you in immense pain and you haven't looked at me once since you woke up. So spill it. Why do you refuse to even look at me? Estelle's words hung in the air, PRNT with expectation. Her concern echoed within me, a stark contrast to the silence that enveloped the room. I wrestled with the weight of her inquiry, my gaze fixed on the floor, avoiding the intensity of her eyes. The seconds stretched, the tension palpable as I searched for the words to say. Every heartbeat felt louder, the silence heavier, making the room feel like it was shrinking, the air thickening around us, it suffocating me slowly before I broke that silence. I made you a promise and then I went and nearly died. How are you not sad at me after breaking your trust, again? I struggled to maintain eye contact with Estelle, my voice wavering with emotion. I'm upset, yes, but not because of your decision with All Might, Estelle's voice softened. I'm upset because you felt like you did something wrong for making that choice. I thought after telling you everything about my problems, that we could rely on each other. Like a real couple. Her voice trailed off, the last words barely audible. As my gaze remained fixed on the floor, tears threatening to leave my eyes before I wiped my face, the room felt heavy with unspoken words, my heart beating like a drum in my chest. That's when her hand gently lifted my chin, guiding my gaze to meet hers. We're a team, Aizu, she said softly. Her eyes seemed to be a little red as if she was about to cry also. We face challenges together, learn from our mistakes. Trust works both ways. I'm here for you, just as you've been there for me. Those words stung. After all this time I never really opened up to her. I've been too focused on getting stronger that I never was vulnerable around her besides a handful of times. Thank you. I don't deserve you. I promise no more secrets and to open up more. As my words hung in the air, I glimpsed a shimmer of unshed tears in Estelle's eyes. I pulled her into a tight embrace and we stayed like that for a few minutes. I'm going to go take my shower. Then I need to talk to you about what happened. I knocked on Estelle's door after my shower, the silence in the room amplifying my sense of unease. A second rap against the door yielded no response. Something's wrong, she doesn't normally take this long to open the door. I'm coming in Este, so you better be dressed. I announced cautiously, slowly turning the knob. The sight that met my eyes sent a chill down my spine. Her room was empty, the open window, something she would never do. My heart raced as I peered out the window, hoping against hope that this was some prank, but reality struck hard. A van bolted away, and a glimpse of Estelle's legs confirmed my worst fear. Without a second thought, I leaped out the window, prepared for a fall but instead found myself suspended in midair. It felt odd but also comforting at the same time. I know Percy could use a hurricane to fly, but this was different. There were no strong winds, I was just floating. I have no time to figure out what caused it, so I decided to use it to my advantage. The rush of wind drowned my thoughts as I propelled forward, using gathered air moisture to push me closer to the fleeing van. My panic only pushing me to go faster. Who planned this kidnapping and why Estelle? Hovering above the van, my lack of control over this new float power added to the urgency. I focused my intent, I willed myself to descend quietly, the rush of adrenaline heightening every sense. Vortex, respond if you can sense my thoughts. The hum of the glove resonated faintly, acknowledging the urgency of the situation. Estelle was kidnapped. I need you to be prepared for several weapon switches. The shape-shifting glove transformed into a short sword, sharp and lethal, similar of that to Percy's. It's a 3 feet long sword, but instead of being made of their celestial bronze, it's made of iron but as sharp as obsidian. Don't worry, Estelle. My thoughts are interrupted by a commotion erupted from the van's back. Estelle's handiwork became evident as a figure was ejected. Judging from the multiple small cuts on the guy, she wasn't in a position to use her weapons effectively, but I used this chance to leap into action and get into the van and holding my blade up at the guy holding Estelle at gunpoint. Before he noticed me, I swung Vortex straight down, cutting his gun in two, making it nothing more than scrap. I take a shower and you get kidnapped? Just who did you PSS off? My words carried a mix of exasperation and worry as I surveyed Estelle's bound hands and gagged mouth. The guy she beat must have been her only chance to draw attention to the van. Holding my sword up at the kidnapper whose gun is now in two. Why did you kidnap her? Someone pay you? Don't make me start taking fingers off to get the information either. I held eye contact with the villain, showing I wasn't bluffing. After all, I could always use the mist so that no one knows I was the one who did it, although that power always made me feel uneasy. Okay. We were paid to kidnap her and take her to an abandoned facility where she would likely get sold into human trafficking, and before you ask, we don't the person who hired us, and that's the truth. He hesitated before finishing his sentence, and I responded by putting my blade up to his neck. Shut up. I'll kill you if you say another word. The driver yelled with a palpable wave of aggression laced with desperation at the villain. I had my sword held up 2 inches away from his throat. Having endured enough of the menacing threats, I swung the flat side of my sword at the villain before me. The impact landed with a dull thud, the sound echoing in the confined space like a discordant melody. The assailant slumped over, him falling into a comical pose, with his butt in the air. The driver, realizing the situation no longer being favorable, hastily pulled over. I moved swiftly, my senses heightened, and by the time the van came to a stop, I had already freed Estelle from her binds. "That's enough, Isa, call the police while I tie these scum up." Estelle's words dripped with venom, and I'd rather not be on the receiving end of them, so I fumbled for my phone, the cold touch of the device in my hand a stark contrast to the charged atmosphere. As I dialed the emergency number, the mechanical voice on the other end blended with the distant sounds of the city. Sirens wailed in the background, growing louder as the police rushed to our aid. They arrived within minutes, their flashing lights casting an otherworldly glow on the scene. They questioned us and we said we both were taken, and we managed to free ourselves with our quirks. After a few more questions we were let go and went back home to find my mother by the door looking at us, suspicious of where we went. When we told her what happened, she started crying, blaming herself for not checking if this was a safe neighborhood, which it is, but nevertheless the tears came. I needed to talk with Estelle still, so the next day I went up to her door and knocked. "We need to talk still. About what happened with All Might." I spoke through the door, my words wavering with an undercurrent of uncertainty. The shuffle of movement preceded the door flinging open, revealing Estelle's furrowed brow and eyes simmering with anger, making beads of sweat form on my palms. "What do you mean? Did you not share something about what happened?" Once inside her room, I motioned for her to shut the door. At first I thought it was just a weird dream I had while passed out. But yesterday confirmed it wasn't. Not only do I have All Might's strength quirk now, but also all the previous user's quirks. Eventually, that is, apparently my body tried to take on all the quirks at once but failed. That is according to the woman who said she was All Might's teacher. I spilled the revelation in a rush, words tumbling out, occasionally stopping to catch my breath, in a frenzied attempt to convey the gravity of what had transpired. This didn't allow Estelle to be able to respond till I was finished. "Wait, so not only are you now the first demigod with not just one quirk but several? Just how many are you going to inherit?" "I believe 7 more. So I'd have 8 quirks. Also, apparently when One for All boosted my original quirk it felt like it changed." I struggled to articulate the inexplicable shift within me, the sensation akin to being attuned to the very essence of materials. It's like I can feel every material around me and manipulate their shapes at will. It's a disconcerting sensation, almost as if the ground itself awaits my command, like that of a peasant to their king. I retreated to my room after finishing our talk. I entered my familiar routine of catching up on hero news before succumbing to my drowsiness. In the following days, our routine consisted of clearing and cleaning the beach, transforming it into a makeshift training ground within the enclosed walls made of scrap metal. The metallic tang of salt water lingered in the air. It made for an excellent training space. Find your balance. When Percy flies, he controls the wind to move him around, so do the same. Estelle, words of encouragement were easier said than done. I have never managed to control the wind in our training. Percy said that the longer I have my powers, the stronger they'll get, so I'll be able to eventually, so until then I'm going to stick to using the moisture in the air. Wait, what if instead of turning it into water I just moved it around? I think I may have figured out how to control wind, so let's see if my theory holds true. As I ascended, closing my eyes to focus, the sensation of the breeze enveloped me. Concentration fueled my attempts to command the air around me, a symphony of unseen forces responding to my intent. I could hear Estelle clapping and cheering. My eyes opened to a breathtaking sight. I found myself suspended within a miniature tempest, an exhilarating whirlwind swirling around me. A rush of adrenaline accompanied my newfound ability to manipulate the wind. With this, even without float, I could fly, but combining the two felt easier, probably because I don't have to hold my weight with the hurricane thanks to float. I did it. I can fly. My exuberant cheer pierced the tranquility of the beach, the wind carrying my voice as I darted through the air. The sensation of soaring, amplified by the roar of the wind around me, filled me with an intoxicating sense of freedom. As I flew up higher, I noticed a familiar truck parked by the stairs leading down to the beach, and so began my descent back down to the ground. As my feet sunk into the soft, sun-warmed sand, All Might approached us, his lanky form a stark contrast to the symbol of strength he once embodied. This would be the first time we've seen him since me inheriting his quirk. Glad to see you're doing better, young Midoriya, and it also seems like you've learned some new tricks, All Might remarked, his voice carrying a mix of curiosity. Yeah. I still need to train for the UA entrance exam and all. Recovery Girl wanted to do a checkup to ensure your body is fine, but judging by your ability to soar through the air, I'm going to assume you feel fine. Any signs of the quirk at all? About that, I began, the sea breeze gently playing with the strands of my hair. The rhythmic crash of waves provided a backdrop to the unfolding conversation. While I was passed out in the pool, I had something similar to a dream where I met all the previous users of One for All. I gained more than just strength. I demonstrated by effortlessly floating above the sand, showcasing his master's quirk. How's this even possible? None of the past users gained the other quirks. Or being able to speak with the current user. The first user suggested that my godly blood may impact quirk factors differently. My godly half doesn't adapt like normal humans, we adapt for battle. So when things make us stronger, our bodies try to boost it even more, drawing out its full potential. This meant my original quirk was almost at its peak until One for All evolved it into something new. Once again, I demonstrated, touching a nearby metal pipe and shaping it into a dense ball. That's incredible. But that leaves one issue. Your official quirk documentation. I've already thought of a solution. When I moved to America, I never changed my quirkless status. Thanks to that, we can say I recently developed my quirk. I'm thinking of calling it Godly Nature. It would allow me advanced water manipulation, minor telekinesis, and a powerful strength quirk that could serve as a cover for most of One for All. His brow furrowed in contemplation. What about Black Whip and Smokescreen? Those don't align with a strength-based quirk. My body couldn't fully integrate all the quirks. Those two were rejected, so odds are I'll never be able to use them. I glanced toward Estelle as she sauntered away, granting us the privacy we needed. A soft smile naturally crept across my face as I watched her engrossed in her own training regimen, her determination a sight to behold. When I returned my attention to All Might, he had a huge grin on his face and I could see his amusement in his eyes. Of course, you would have everything already figured out, he remarked, his tone tinged with amusement. And the way you look at her, you must care for her a lot. So make sure to do well to protect her. His words carried a weight of both guidance and trust. I must go now. May I trust you not to overwork yourself until I can make a training regimen for you and your friend? Absolutely. I responded with a quick salute, a gesture that elicited a hearty laugh from the legendary hero. The sun cast a warm glow upon the beach, the gentle rustle of the waves underscoring the camaraderie between mentor and student. The day of the entrance exam arrived, and I stood before UA's gate, a sense of anticipation mingled with nervous energy. As I glanced around, I sensed someone's intense gaze drilling into the back of my head. Before I could react, Bakugo plowed into my shoulder, sending me stumbling. Thanks to Estelle's quick reflexes, I avoided an embarrassing fall. Bakugo's demeanor always reminded me of the fiery nature of Ares. He's at least favored by him because of that attitude of his. Watch yourself next time, Bakugo, or next time you'll find yourself on the ground, I snarled at him, feeling Estelle's firm grip holding me back, knowing din well I would. My taunt only seemed to get him to glance back at me before he continued. He's an a-hole, Aizu. Don't let him get to you, besides we can put him in his place by scoring better than him. Estelle stated it like it was a foregone fact. Thanks to All Might's training, she seemed to regain her confidence. The culprits involved in bullying her received their due, ensuring they wouldn't have a shot at prestigious hero schools. Her dad making the call and bringing it up as if he had no clue they bullied her too was the only way to keep it a secret though, but it seemed to make her dad like me more, which is always a plus. I know, but he sees me off just as much as the Ares kids, I shared, locking gazes with Estelle. Is there a chance other demigods could be here for the entrance exam? I mean, it's not uncommon for people to come from all over the world. No, at least no claimed kids. Percy's done a remarkable job having satyrs find half-bloods before they're claiming. Honestly, you're the first half-blood in centuries to be born outside of the country where the gods reside, but that's because your mom got PRGNT in America and moved back to Japan before you were born, so maybe that's why it's so rare, Estelle explained. As we conversed, our steps led us to our respective test rooms. The layout confused me, or perhaps my dyslexia played tricks on me. Every turn seemed to steer me farther from my destination. Eventually, with mere seconds to spare, I found my room, the disapproving glances of others a silent commentary on my tardiness. I found my desk and did a silent prayer that I could be able to complete this test without too many problems. I did get to take the test with assistance if I wanted, but I opted for a longer testing PRD instead. When they handed out the tests, I was pleasantly surprised when none of the words seemed to be moving around and scrambling around. I thanked the God who answered my prayer. Without the struggle of reading, I managed to be the first person in my test room to finish, also nearly setting a record as I finished in under a half hour. After finishing, I had to leave the test room, so I waited for Estelle outside laying on a bench. My peace was disturbed, however, when a tall blue-haired kid with glasses stood over me, casting his shadow over the warm sunlight. "Hello? Can I help you or something?" I spoke to the blue-haired teen, slightly confused by the abrupt intrusion. "I am greatly appalled to see you lounging about. If you're not serious about this exam and intend to obstruct others, I suggest you leave," he chided, his movements rigid, moving up and down similar to that of a robot, likely a product of his private school upbringing. Closing my eyes, I attempted to resume my relaxation. I've just completed one of the most challenging exams of my life, despite having dyslexia. I believe I've earned a moment's rest. Besides, I'm only waiting here for my girlfriend to finish her test so that we could have lunch, I explained. I opened one eye, expecting his judgmental stare to linger. I'm going to take this chance to show this guy how rude it is to judge someone off of looks. "Have you confronted everyone lounging or leaning against the trees?" I asked pointedly, noticing his discomfort as he stared at his feet. "So, let me clarify. Did you approach me because I seemed like a slacker? Was it my messy hair? Was it because I seemed like I was full of myself? Or was it because I finished the exam in our test room really fast despite having dyslexia, and it have wounded your pride of being a super scholar that some dyslexic kids seem to not care about the written exam or for how he even looked? Didn't think I'd recognize you, did you?" "That about right." He seemed too stunned to speak for a few seconds, with his head looking straight at his feet, a sign I was spot on. Sighing, I stood up and placed my hand out. "Look, it seems to me we started off on the wrong foot. The name's Izuku Midoriya, dyslexia and ADHD BGMI when it comes to my goals." That seemed to perk him up as he raised his head and took my hand. "Ida Tenya, younger brother of the hero Ingenium," he introduced himself, grasping my hand in acknowledgement. "I am truly sorry for assuming the worst of you. I'll adjust my behavior accordingly. When I was invited to join Percy's family for the holidays, I didn't quite know what to anticipate. However, the prospect of getting to know Percy better and catching a glimpse of Estelle, all right, I'll admit, I might have a small crush on her, but can you blame me? She's strong, beautiful too." As I stood at their front door, a mix of emotions flooded in. It felt oddly similar to my first time entering my cabin, a sense of unease mingled with a comforting aura, like a place devoid of judgmental gazes, offering only warmth and acceptance. Upon stepping inside, Percy greeted me warmly and gave a brief tour of their cozy apartment. Estelle shot me a puzzled glance, as if my arrival had caught her off guard. She disappeared into her room momentarily before her mother called her out to assist in finishing dinner. This gave me the chance to chat with Percy's stepdad, a genuinely nice person. However, their expressions turned perplexed when I casually pulled out my hero notebook out of nowhere to jot down their quirks. As dinner approached, we gathered around the table. I found myself seated between Percy and Estelle, with Percy adjacent to Annabeth. On the other side of Annabeth sat Percy's stepdad, followed by Percy's mom and then his sister. When they reached for each other's hands, confusion painted my face. Percy caught on and clarified, "We say grace before meals as a way of showing respect to the gods." That meant holding hands with Estelle. Before I could object or excuse myself, the siblings swiftly clasped my hands, compelling me to participate in the ritual of saying grace. "I know it's not exactly the usual for me to lead this," he began, his tone carrying a mix of confidence and a hint of bashfulness, "but, we've got some pretty awesome company tonight." He winked at his sister and then glanced around the table, meeting each family member's gaze. Clearing his throat, Percy closed his eyes briefly, his expression becoming more solemn. "Thanks for this meal and for having us all together on this special day. Thanks for family and friends, and for showing us the importance of being there for each other, especially during this time." He paused, opening his eyes to steal a quick glance at Annabeth, a smile softening his features. "Thank you for the laughter, the adventures, and the moments that remind us why we fight for what matters, and may we always find the strength to face challenges together, and the wisdom to appreciate the good in our lives. And, thanks for the food, of course." After spending a while chatting with my new friend Ida, Estelle emerged and scanned the area, her gaze landing on me. With a hint of confusion in her expression, she made her way over. As she approached, I noticed Ida gaping wide-eyed beside me. "Everything okay, Ida?" I asked. Despite our recent encounter, he preferred I use his first name. "Why? It's just I didn't." I interrupted him, guessing his thoughts. "Expect her to be so attractive?" He shook his head. "No, not that. I wasn't expecting her to look American." That's when Estelle came within earshot, interjecting into the conversation. "Something wrong with Americans?" she quipped in flawless Japanese, arms crossed. "Not at all. I've heard people come from all over the world. I just didn't expect to meet someone from so far away," he replied in near-perfect English, earning a smirk from Estelle. "I'm just messing with you. Seems my boyfriend has found another victim, huh?" She shot me a mischievous grin that reminded me of Annabeth. What on earth did those two gossip about me? "She's joking, I'm just a little danger-prone is all, although since coming back to Japan I haven't had an accident thankfully," I explained, eliciting a confused look from the blue-haired teen. "What do you mean since you got back to Japan?" "My dad is American, while my mom is Japanese. I haven't met my dad, but my mom shared stories about him. Long story short, I was raised here in Japan and went to America for training with my half-brother on my dad's side." That seemed to baffle him even more. An ancestry DNA test. My mom thought it might be a smart way to connect with my dad's family. It so happened that my middle school organized a trip to the same city where my half-brother lived. That lie seemed to have worked, the less misused on mortal minds the better in my opinion. Glancing at Estelle, I asked, "Ready for lunch?" She nodded eagerly, grabbing my hand and pulling me along. I offered Ida a silent apology, and from his nod, it seemed like he understood. Or at least, that's how it appeared to me. After our lunch, we were ushered into a colossal auditorium for the explanation of the practical exam. Seating was organized by schools, but since Estelle and I studied abroad, we found ourselves in a separate area designated for American schools. Tablets were provided to aid those not yet proficient in Japanese, translating the instructions into English. It was a thoughtful touch, catering to the international attendees. The exam itself was well known for typically involving battles against robots. It struck me as somewhat impractical. Not every quirk was suited for combat, and some might excel in other areas. I started murmuring about the uses of certain quirks against robots when Estelle elbowed me sharply in the ribs, snapping me out of my distracted thoughts. "There are 3 different robots. Each one is worth different points based on how hard it is to defeat them. The 1-pointer being the easiest, being slow and having to get close to attack. While the 3-pointer is much faster in comparison and had multiple long-range and close-range attacks, so do be careful in facing opponents that are stronger than you." President Mick's booming voice echoed through the auditorium. I struggled to contain my excitement at being in the presence of someone I admired so much. Just as I composed myself, Ida, the familiar blue-haired teen, stood up with a raised hand, waiting to speak after President Mike acknowledged him. "Sir, on the pamphlet you handed out clearly shows 4 robots. If this is a mistake by the number 1 hero school in Japan, you should be quite ashamed." President Mike just nodded silently while Ida spoke. Once he finished, it was his turn to speak. "That's no mistake. there is a fourth robot. However, it's just there to get in the way. There is no real point in destroying it as it's worth 0 points. Just look at it like an obstacle to be avoided. Ida seemed satisfied with his clarification and bowed before retaking his seat. President Mike then elaborated on the mock cities where the test would occur. After the instructions, we were instructed to change out of our school uniforms into gym clothes. Those of us from abroad were provided with attire representing our respective countries. Estelle and I ended up wearing USA flag shirts with navy blue track pants. Once changed, we regrouped at designated buses as we were headed to different mock cities for our tests. Giving Estelle a tight hug, I held onto her shoulders, imparting some encouragement. You're going to ace this test, destroying those robots. This is nothing compared to all the training you've undergone. Show everyone that your hard work has led to this moment. Determination flickered in her eyes as she pecked my cheek, causing a blush to rush to my face. Focus on yourself before worrying about me, but thank you for the pep talk anyway, she said before boarding her bus. Hey kid, better rush to your bus, we're leaving any minute now. The bus driver advised me, prompting me to sprint to my bus just in time for the driver to close the door behind me, once again making it seem like I was late, which, in this case, was partly true. There were multiple buses leading to the mock city where my test was taking place, so I was shocked by the amount of people there were. As I was stretching, I noticed a brunette girl, visibly flustered and attempting to regulate her breathing. Deciding to offer some help, I approached her, gently tapping her shoulder to get her attention. Hey, feeling a bit stressed? Want to know a trick I use to unwind? Her initial surprise at a stranger's tap shifted to a willingness to seek help. If it could help, sure. Her smile was faint, portraying a lack of confidence. Breathing like you were can work, but I find it more effective to reframe tests as training or a game. It tricks our brains into releasing different chemicals, reducing stress. It might not have an immediate effect, but it could help when dealing with those robots, I explained, offering her an encouraging smile. I was expecting something more complicated, but I can totally do that. Her demeanor now exuded excitement, nerves seemingly evaporated. Glad I could help. Good luck out there, by the way. Hope to see you in class, I said before hurrying toward the giant gate leading to the mock city. I dashed through the opening even before it fully revealed itself, prompting complaints from those behind me about cheating until President Mike intervened. What are you waiting for? Go! His voice spurred the mob of students to follow, only to discover all the robots already dismantled. Though I couldn't use Vortex, I could wield water as weapons. Gathering moisture from the air, I crafted multiple tridents, wielding one while the rest hovered around me. Launching them in various directions, I swiftly took out several one-pointers concealed near the entrance. 4, I counted, darting deeper into the mock city in search of tougher opponents. Discovering a trio of 2-pointers surrounding a single 3-pointer, I hurled the trident in my hand, expanding it upon impact and causing an explosion that took out the 3-pointer and the nearby 2-pointers. 13, I announced, maintaining my pace and aiding those overwhelmed or overconfident. I persisted until I amassed 57 points, stumbling upon a purple-haired kid cornered by a 2-pointer and destroyed it, saving him. Name's Izuka Midoriya. Can I ask why you're looking at me as if I just insulted your mother by saving you? I extended a hand in goodwill, but he swatted it away. I hate people like you, with flashy quirks thinking the rest of us need saving, he retorted. His words wiped the smile off my face, catching his attention. I wasn't always this strong, you know? I was once thought quirkless, so that logic doesn't work on me. I helped because you were cornered without a weapon. I get it if your quirk doesn't work on robots, and it's frustrating, but getting help isn't something to be ashamed of. I fashioned a nearby street sign into a sharp sword, lightweight yet potent, and tossed it at his feet. Use that for the test. Can't promise you'll rack up enough points for the heroics class, but at least you'll have a shot. Inside the bustling judging room, cameras filled every corner, capturing the tests in various mock cities. Midnight, with an excited smile, watched the green-haired kid's actions intently. That boy is crazy strong, creating weapons out of thin air. Remind me to keep her away from the new students, Cementos remarked to the other teachers, eyeing Midnight. The room buzzed with discussions among the educators, analyzing each student's abilities. Unfortunately, she is the modern hero art history teacher, required for the first-year students, Eraserhead added with a resigned sigh. He truly is remarkable. His quirk seems quite versatile with multiple abilities. Nizu, a tiny animal nestled within Eraserhead's capture scarf and the UA principal, chimed in. Curious about the green-haired boy's quirk, Cementos inquired, "What's his quirk?" At first, I thought it had to do with water, but now he's fashioning a sword from a street sign. It says here it's called Godly Nature. It grants advanced water manipulation, minor telekinesis, and a strength-enhancing ability. Although the telekinesis is limited to touch, Midnight explained, reading from the file on the boy named Izuku Midoriya. He's a late bloomer, recently awakened his quirk. But his proficiency with that trident suggests extensive prior training. Yes, he is quite remarkable. He also lived in America for 2 years and finished middle school early despite being dyslexic and having ADHD. Want the kid Izawa? Nizu spoke to Eraserhead. Eraserhead remained silent, fixated on the boy's movements. His proficiency hinted at a level of training that didn't align with a typical untrained child. If I take him, does Vlad get the explosive blonde? Eraserhead pointed to the monitor displaying Bakugo, navigating the mock city with intense efficiency, obliterating robots ruthlessly. Nizu hummed in contemplation. No. You get both of them, he declared, settling back in his chair and sipping his tea. Now, let's see how they handle the zero-pointer, shall we? Before anyone could respond, he pressed the red button on his chair's armrest, initiating the next phase of the test. That should be a good amount of points, I mumbled to myself, attempting to steady my breathing. The exertion was unlike anything I've experienced since training with Percy. Taking a moment to sit on the curb of the mock city, I leaned back, arms propping me up. My thoughts drifted to Estelle, wondering how she was faring in her own test site. While observing the other students in my vicinity, I couldn't help but wonder about what she might be facing. The tranquility of my moment was abruptly shattered by the earth's rumbling, not an earthquake, but resembling one. Panic ensued as students scattered in the opposite direction. My attention was drawn to a colossal robotic hand seizing the side of a 10-story building. Turning to leave with the others for safety, I hesitated. Falling debris from the colossal robot's impact on the buildings posed a risk. It didn't take long to confirm my fears, a familiar brunette trapped beneath the rubble, before thinking I took off in the face of danger. As I'm sprinting to the danger, I run past Ida and see his head flick around to me out of the corner of my eye, but I refuse to slow down. As I got closer, I noted I wouldn't make it in time, if only I could activate the strength of One for All. I felt a peculiar warmth blossoming in my chest, reminiscent of the first time I wielded water, but more comforting, more empowering. Lightning crackled around me. I noticed how lightning seemed to be dancing around my body. This was it. A sensation I'd longed for, One for All. Yet, before I could make use of it, a colossal shadow eclipsed me. A giant fist hurtling downward. Sure dash, I barely muttered. Right before the robot could make contact, I was moved out the way of the fist by a certain speedster. Thanks for the save, Ida. I'll hold the zero-pointer while you assist the girl, I declared, meeting Ida's determined gaze. Good, because saving you drained all my speed. I need a breather before I can zip around like that again, he panted, turning his attention to the girl in distress. I could hear him reassuring her as my focus returned on the opponent in front of me. Look here, zero-pointer. I taunt the robot to get it to focus on me. I tap back into that comforting feeling and my body once again gained the lighting around me. I take off running, making it follow me to an empty area. Now that we were alone, I didn't have to hold back the strength that I can feel coursing through me. Using float in tandem with 5% of One for All, I took off into the air, stopping directly in front of the zero-pointer's head. Gathering water, I fortified my right arm before channeling 100% of One for All into a titanic punch. Zeus smash. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the air, shattering every window in the vicinity. Descending, I admired the colossal crater in the robot's head. That's when I became painfully aware of the shooting pain in my right arm. I didn't even need to look at it to tell that it was broken. I gathered some water to put over my arm to slowly begin to heal some of it before Recovery Girl could give me a whack on the head with her cane. Eraserhead stood there, eyes fixed on the monitors displaying Izuku Midoriya's astounding feat. That kid has some serious power, he murmured, a mix of concern and admiration in his voice. It bothers me that he broke his arm, but he also showed precise control over his strength. A problem child indeed. He shook his head with a heavy sigh, pondering the implications of such raw ability in one so young. As he turned to leave, Power Loader's despondent expression caught his attention. The disappointment in seeing his ultimate villain bot obliterated by a mere child weighed heavily on him. Izawa, we need to discuss the scores, the principal's voice interrupted, trying to tether Eraserhead to the task at hand. Eraserhead paused, hand on the doorknob, and glanced back. Trust me, I know what's necessary, he retorted, already moving towards the exit. He shut the door before any further argument could ensue, leaving the room to fetch the much-needed coffee machine and supplies. He's not wrong, though. That kid's strength. It's something else. Thank goodness he aspires to be a hero, Midnight chimed in, breaking the mounting silence with her thoughts. Indeed, his potential is staggering. I doubt even All Might could face him if he truly unleashed his full power without restraint, Cementos added, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and concern. True, quirks are evolving, becoming more potent and perilous. Individuals like him, wielding immense strength, just their mere existence could deter crime, much like All Might did, Midnight pondered, the weight of the changing dynamics not lost on her. However, with villains becoming bolder, forming groups, and their quirks growing stronger, we need heroes more than ever. Our duty at UA is to nurture these heroes of tomorrow, Nisa declared with an air of unwavering authority, refocusing the team on their task at hand. Enough of focusing on that one boy. There are numerous other students who deserve attention. Let's get back to work grading, distributing points, and giving every deserving student their chance. The room realigned, each member of the staff diving back into their duties, reviewing scores, and ensuring every student had the opportunity to shine. You're such an idiot, Izzy. Estelle's scowl deepened as she glared at me, my arm cradled in a sling. Thanks to Recovery Girl's intervention, it was only a sprain, and a quick dip in the ocean was all I needed for a speedy recovery. I'm fine, really I am. I reassured her, flashing a massive grin. My strength finally kicked in just at the right moment too, I added, attempting to shift the focus away from my injured arm. Nope, I know what you're trying to do, and it won't work. Once your mom hears what you did, she'll faint just at knowing you willingly broke your arm. Wait, I can't tell her Beck dash. I swiftly covered Estelle's mouth, shooting a weak smile at the people leaving the school's entrance. Come on, you know better than to talk about this stuff publicly. I just told you about the strength so you know how I broke my arm. The last thing I need is you pestering me about it the whole way home. You live together? At such a young age I am quite shocked, Midoriya. I thought you were above such things. Ida's voice sliced into the conversation, causing both Estelle and me to jump as if caught red-handed. How long have you been standing there, Ida? I asked hesitantly. Not long. I only heard you say something about her pestering you the whole way home. Speaking of, Ida's face loomed close to mine. You don't share a room at least, right? His question was simple yet loaded, threatening to turn our faces crimson with embarrassment. Don't worry, Ida. We have our own rooms. Besides, I doubt my mom would want grandkids before I even graduate. Plus, her brother would kill me. I reassured him. He simply nodded, holding his chin in contemplation. Well, at least you're responsible enough not to share a room. I doubted I could get a good night's sleep sharing a room with Estelle at the moment. She might actually kill me. Well, we should get going. There are only 2 trains before dark that go to our area. So, hopefully, the next time we see each other, it will be in class. I extended my hand to Ida, slipping a piece of paper with my number to him during the handshake, before catching up to Estelle. Estelle and I walked towards the train station, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the pavement. The air hung heavy with unspoken tension as we navigated the bustling streets, each step echoing the unease between us. Seriously, Izuk, you have to be more careful, Estelle scolded, her earlier anger still evident in her voice. What if your newfound strength hadn't kicked in? You could have seriously hurt yourself. I let out a deep sigh, my eyes fixed on the ground as I absorbed Estelle's words. The events of the day hung in the air, the cityscape dimly lit by streetlights casting long shadows. I understand, I finally replied, my voice a blend of determination and vulnerability. But seeing the damage it could do to the buildings. It worried me, the idea that there's something capable of such destruction and most people lack the means to protect themselves. I know heroes exist to safeguard them, but heroes have limits, they're only so fast and strong. Pausing, I contemplated the constraints of my own abilities. The realization that I couldn't save everyone weighed heavily on me. The concept of not being able to save everyone. I aspire to be a hero capable of achieving the impossible, but today made me face the truth that, even as I take down formidable villains, I can't save everyone. My gaze shifted to my arm in the sling, a silent reminder of my limits. Estelle, sensing the struggle in my eyes, stood before me with a serious expression. Aizu, she began, her tone laden with experience. My brother faced similar thoughts. He lost friends on quests and in a war he nearly cis. Wanting to save everyone is noble, but life isn't always fair. It takes people away from their loved ones. Her words painted a sobering picture, offering a glimpse into the harsh reality heroes confronted. Percy once embarked on a quest with 3 others, making a total of 4. Normally, a group larger than 3 meant someone would die on that quest. And someone did, right in front of him. He had to tell a kid, whom he had saved just days before, that he had failed to protect his older sister. I listened, absorbing the gravity of Percy's story. Estelle continued, introducing another character. You've probably seen Percy talking to a guy with dark clothes and bags under his eyes. His name is Nico. It was his sister that had died, and for a long time he blamed Percy for her death. Eventually he learned that you can't blame people for someone's death, no matter what. Do you understand? I gave her a silent nod. The rest of the walk to the station was quiet, but her hand in mine left me with one last thought that scared me. What if one day I won't be able to save those I love? The gods convened in their majestic seats on Olympus: Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Hermes, Athena, Dionysus, and Hephaestus, 8 of the 12 Olympians present. Your son grows stronger. I am surprised you don't visit him like you do that brat, Zeus declared, his voice echoing through the grand hall where the few gathered gods listened. Could it be that you favor Percy over him? Hades interjected, his tone carrying a hint of accusation. Or is it that even you are put off by his uniqueness, even among your children? Mortal powers on top of your blessings, it's an odd mix. Enough. I do not have favorites. Just like with Percy, I won't approach him until the time is right. I didn't meet Percy until he returned your Master Bolt, Zeus, and your Crown of Darkness, Hades. I avoided him because of the potential influence on his decisions. I will not interfere with my son's life until I think he is ready, Poseidon spoke, his pain thinly veiled in his words. Do you believe this son is as reckless as Percy, sending the head of a monster to Olympus? Athena's words dripped with venom, her disdain for Poseidon and his offspring evident. Well, this kid is timid. While his confidence grew with the help of the camp, it doesn't mean he would risk setting us off. I mean, have you seen just how often he cried at the camp? It's sad really, Hermes added, his voice laced with a touch of mockery. Even so, he is one of the bravest among our children. Not many would risk living far from the safety of camp, let alone Olympus, where our power is strongest. Although I am concerned about that hurricane he faced and the lack of monsters in Japan. Should we send a few satyrs around Japan to see if anything suspicious is going on? Hephaestus inquired, addressing the assembly of gods. I'll speak to the council and see if I can get a few of their resources out there. While I don't care for the boy, I don't like it when monsters aren't present, let alone when such a demigod is around. Something is going on, and if it's anything like what Hera pulled or another war, we should be prepared, Dionysus added before rising from his chair and vanishing from the hall. The sound of rushing footsteps filled my ears, And not a second later, my door was flung open by my mother, holding 2 envelopes. They're here. 2 weeks of waiting had taken a toll on my nerves. Anxiety heightened, especially when All Might wasn't responding to my texts or calls. Estelle and I decided to take a break from training while awaiting the exam results, but the day always ended with us covered in sweat. She was in the bath when the letters arrived, so we waited for her to finish up. Holding my letter made my heart race. I could feel One for All heating up inside me, seemingly sharing the anticipation. Just as I felt like I was going to explode from the anticipation, Estelle came into the living room where all 3 of us were going to see the results. "Let's start with yours, Aizu. After all, this is your dream school," Estelle spoke, her voice tinged with worry. There was no guarantee that she made it in, and even if she did, it didn't ensure we'd be in the same class. I opened my letter by tearing it in half, and a small metal disc fell out. When I went to pick it up, a hologram of All Might appeared. "All Might. I am here." Sorry, I guess that was louder than I meant. "Young Midoriya, you did an exceptional job during the entrance exam. You had one of the highest scores on the written exam, getting 98% of the answers correct despite your struggles with learning disabilities." All Might puffed out his chest and slammed his fist to his chest. "That is not all. Your performance during the practical really shocked the staff of UA. You didn't just go around and destroy robots but made an effort to save those who got overwhelmed or underestimated the test. What kind of hero school would UA be if we didn't acknowledge heroism?" My mom grabbed me in a tight hug with tears in her eyes. She didn't say anything, but she didn't need to. Her face told me everything. There was a secret scoring system where the teachers would give points to students who saved or protected others. Each teacher could give each student a max of 10 rescue points. You saved and helped several examinees, getting points of their own and saving those who couldn't protect themselves. Young man, you got 71 villain points and an astounding 60 rescue points. That brings your total to 131 points. You have set the new UA record. Congratulations, young Midoriya. Welcome to your hero academia. All Might then put his hand out towards me just like he would during training, and I couldn't help but tear up a little while hugging my mom back. It was Estelle's turn. Would it be okay if I opened mine alone in my room? The shakiness in her voice revealed her nervousness. "Of course, I'm sure you made it in too." She gave me a hug before heading to her room, whispering to no one but herself, "Idiot." Several minutes passed, minutes turned to several hours. I tried knocking on her door several times, but she just told me to go away. Even when my mom tried, she got the same response. There was a physical letter inside the envelope that told me which class I was in and had some paperwork I needed to fill out before the first day of school. I was in class 1A, but her hiding only worried my mother and me. Estelle's heart raced as she clutched the soft pillow against her chest, her fingers anxiously kneading its fabric. The unopened letter from the prestigious academy lay on her desk, a weight of anticipation hanging in the air. The room, bathed in soft evening light. How did he open his letter with us in the room? Was he told by All Might he passed before the letters arrived? Her thoughts carried the weight of uncertainty. Her eyes, fixed on the sealed envelope, betrayed a mix of hope and fear, dancing like shadows on the walls. Still, him getting number 1 and setting a new record. That means his quest is over. He no longer needs me around then. A pang of loneliness hit her. The realization of the possibility of being left behind weighed heavily on her heart. Each thought seemed loud in the quiet room, resonating with the ache of unspoken emotions. What am I to do if I don't get in? Go home? Go to another school? The questions lingered in her mind, accompanied by the haunting uncertainty of the future. Estelle's thoughts raced, a whirlwind of possibilities and fears colliding within her mind. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in on her as she grappled with the unknown. A sudden, unexpected knock at her door shattered the walls around her internal monologue. Inko gently entered the room, her voice soft as she addressed Estelle. "It's Inko, dear. Is everything okay in there?" The sound of rushing movement filled the room as Estelle hastily tossed the pillow aside, attempting to hide the unopened letter. However, Inko's motherly instincts were quicker. and the door swung open before Estelle could reach the chair. Inko noticed the unopened letter on the desk and used her quirk to pull it toward her. Now holding the letter, she looked at Estelle with concern evident on her face. Estelle, you got this letter this morning. The sun set an hour ago, and yet it's still not opened. Want to talk about it? Estelle hesitated, her eyes avoiding Inko's gaze. I'm just a bit nervous, you know? What if I didn't make it into UA? She fidgeted, the weight of uncertainty heavy on her shoulders. Inko approached her, placing a comforting hand on Estelle's shoulder. Sweetheart, I understand. Waiting for such news can be overwhelming. But remember, regardless of the outcome, you have a place here. Izuku won't leave you behind. Estelle's eyes finally met Inko's, searching for reassurance. But what if I don't get in? What if I'm not good enough to be a hero? Inko smiled warmly, her motherly wisdom shining through. Being a hero isn't just about attending a prestigious school. It's about heart, courage, and the desire to make a difference. UA doesn't define your worth. And let me tell you something about Izuku, he won't measure your value based on which school you attend. You're already a hero in his eyes, and nothing can change that. Estelle took a deep breath, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. I wanted to be there with Izuku, you know? To share the journey with him. Inko nodded, understanding Estelle's feelings. And you still can, whether it's at UA or not. True heroes support each other, no matter where they are. Izuku won't leave you behind, he'll be by your side every step of the way. So, let's open that letter together. Whatever it says, I'm sure you'll face it together. Thank you, Inko. Your words mean a lot to me, she said with sincerity, a hint of gratitude in her eyes. Inko smiled warmly, her maternal instincts guiding her. You're always welcome, Estelle. We're here for you, no matter what. Now, let's face whatever news that letter holds together. With a newfound sense of support, Estelle was finally ready to open the letter and embrace whatever the future held. Whatever Mom said, it worked. My mother walked out of Estelle's room, with Estelle following her, a determined look on her face. I'm sorry I hid in my room, Aizu. I was just nervous about the results. Your mom helped a lot. Ready to see what class I got into? I just nodded with a big smile. I already knew she made it in, wanting to replay the hologram to send to my dad in America. While it did play back the video, it also showed a board with the top 10 scores of the exam. Name, villain points, rescue points, rank. Izuku Midoriya, 71 to 61st. Katsuki Bakugo, 77 to 0, 2nd. Eijiro Kirishima, 39 to 35, 3rd. Achiko Uraraka, 43 to 28, 4th. Ibara Shizuki, 36 to 32, 5th. Itsuka Kendo, 27 to 46th. Tenya Ida, 52 to 14, 7th. Tetsu, 49 to 10, 8th. Estelle Blofis, 28 to 25, 9th. Hitoshi Shinso, 19 to 33, 10th. I could spoil this for her. Nah, I like being able to breathe. Ready? She opened the seal, pulling out the disc and a piece of paper, placing it to the side to read after watching the hologram. My eyes couldn't help but stare as I noticed just how shaky she was. I placed my hand on her shoulder to silently remind her that she wasn't alone. Hitting the button on the disc, a popular UA teacher, 13, recorded Estelle's video. Hello, Estelle. I hope you don't mind me using your first name. Anyway, you placed second in the written exam, with this test this year being able to stump our third years, making your feat quite impressive. Just like that, her nervousness seemed to vanish upon hearing the praise from the hero. Told you that you did great, even 13 noticed it. She shook her head, but a smile on her face betrayed her humbleness. It's her job, besides that just means I'm at least in general ed, not heroics. I had to do good enough on the practical. Our attention returned to the hologram. As for your practical score, you scored a total of 28 villain points, which wouldn't be enough for you to make it into our heroics course. Her face seemed to pale a little, her only hope now being the rescue points we learned about from my acceptance video. Don't worry though. We at UA acknowledge heroism more than anything, so just taking down robots isn't the main score system we have. We also have a hidden point system, which we call rescue points, and you scored 25 of them, bringing your total point score to 53, placing you 9th in this year's practical. Welcome, Estelle, to your Hero Academia. With at the hologram of 13 vanished, Estelle's excitement bubbled over as she quickly turned around and jumped on me. I did it, Izzy. Her joy was evident, and she couldn't contain her enthusiasm. I knew you would. I didn't doubt it for a second. Ignoring the fact that my mom was still in the room, she gave me a peck on the cheek, immediately turning my face red, and hers joined me in blushing after realizing we weren't alone. My mom chuckled at our shared embarrassment. Well, we have to celebrate. There's not enough time to make dinner, so we should go out to eat tonight. You kids, go get dressed so we can go to Izuku's favorite. Despite Estelle having almost lived with us for a year, we never took her to my favorite restaurant, mainly because we moved and now needed to go by train to get there. Tonight promised to be a great night filled with celebration of our acceptance to UA.